Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Now, for those of you that haven't seen it, obviously a spoiler alert. This is a comprehensive review, so I will be revealing what happens at the end. Although there is no massive plot twist that hearing it would completely ruin your experience. So it is your discretion essentially. Now, again, if you're still here and haven't seen it, it is a 2022 American absurdist comedy drama film. And it was written and directed by Daniel Kwan and Daniel Scheinert, two people that I haven't heard of before, but they rose to fame as directors of music videos, of all things, including the short film music video for Houdini in 2012 by Foster the People, as well as a popular DJ Snake and Lil Jon music video for the single Turn Down for What, both of which earned them nominations at the Grammy Awards. Now, the movie follows Evelyn Wang, a Chinese-American immigrant who, while being audited by the IRS, must connect with parallel universe versions of herself to prevent a powerful being from destroying the multiverse. Michelle Yeoh stars as Evelyn with Stephanie Zhu, Ki Yu Kwan, Jenny Slate, Harry Shum Jr., James Hong, and Jamie Lee Curtis in supporting roles. Now, the reason why this review really should happen. It's important that we're doing this, is because Everything Everywhere All at Once is now officially the most awarded film of all time. Okay, it received a leading 11 nominations at the 95th Academy Awards, the ones that just happened, and won a leading 7 awards: Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actress for Michelle Yeoh, Best Supporting Actor for Kwan, Best Supporting Actress for Curtis, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Film Editing, okay? It has also won 2 Golden Globe Awards, 5 Critics' Choice Awards, including Best Picture, 1 BAFTA Award, a record 4 SAG Awards, including Best Ensemble, a record 7 Independent Spirit Awards, including Best Feature, and swept the 4 major Guild Awards, including DGA, PGA, SAG, and WGA. Now, this is insane amounts of awards that this film has received, and honestly, before watching this, I've only known about the Academy Awards, about how it swept through the Academy Awards. All of these other ones, it's a well-celebrated movie. So I venture to say that it's worth talking about, at least. Alright, well-deserved too. Well, we shall see. We shall see. If it is, in fact, in my opinion as well. I'm saying it, we shall see as if I'm the arbiter of truth. Of course, I am not. I'm just some dude streaming on Twitch. Now, what I mean to say is whether I personally agree with that assessment, and whether you guys personally agree with that assessment. Gautier will, of course, let us know. I'm expecting a lively discussion about this movie. Now, the intro to the movie, awesome. It's pretty much like a literal window to a family life. It essentially starts with a shot of these 3 family members, the mother, the father, and the child, Evelyn, Waymond, and Joy, that are singing like in a karaoke, but it's viewed through like a shot of like this little armoire or whatever, where like a little tiny window is, and they're just seen through another window mirror, like a tiny mirror, and then there's like a quick edit, and the window shifts, and it reveals the woman Evelyn worrying about some papers on her desk, essentially like bills for the IRS and stuff like that. So immediately you have some kind of an idea of a family that's sort of together, but that they have worries as well. It's very quick exposition, but the movie didn't stop there. Immediately you had perhaps the best scene or rapid succession of scenes of explaining the reality of immigrants living in the United States. It achieved this through really rapid-fire family discussions about the upcoming party, about their daughter, between the mother and the father, between Evelyn and Waymond, and the bills, the IRS, and everything like that. and this entire conversation happened so quickly, and they spoke so quickly while shifting very naturally between English and Mandarin, sometimes mid-sentence, sometimes a sentence in English, sentence in Mandarin, really in quick succession. And you immediately felt by this really powerful dialogue that was not heavy on exposition, that it was just very natural family speak of two stressed individuals, having to sort of juggle the responsibilities of everyday life, but done in two languages, which is I would say quite surprising for somebody that doesn't happen to live in that environment, that didn't happen to grow up as an immigrant in the United States, for example. Now, I have a sort of like somewhat of a unique view on this, because I speak English at home with my mom, because my stepfather is Danish, so we speak English together at the table. But there, what we do sort of is, because my stepfather doesn't speak Czech, we only speak Czech with my mom when he's not in the room. Immediately as he enters, we sort of naturally shift into English. So we do these shifts, but not in like rapid fire succession, because my stepfather doesn't speak Czech, so it would be rude to speak Czech in front of him. So we do shift like that. That is very interesting, and it did remind me of that. Although obviously we can't do it in this rapid succession, because he can't understand us otherwise. But the dialogue only rose. I would describe what the dialogue was at the beginning as absolute mayhem, in the good sense of the word, if you will. It was like the most Aaron Sorkin vibes I've seen in a very long time. For those of you that don't know, Aaron Sorkin is the writer of many acclaimed TV shows like West Wing or Newsroom, where he has this like signature style of writing dialogue, where people would very often walk through a large hallway around or like a bunch of other people, and they really speak in like really quickly, like really quick succession of words and sentences, and a wide array of perspectives and debates about a certain topic, several different themes, and the people are usually stressed, but they speak very quickly, essentially, and it's lots of information that is sort of thrown at the audience as well as on the other person, but in a very natural, very natural sort of way, not exposition heavy at all. It just feels like you're there, like it's a little bit of a bumped up, a little bit of a stressful situation, but such a natural one, such a natural flowing one. And the fact that they managed to achieve this in this movie, I was immediately very happy, very, very, appreciative of that. Because not only did they manage to once again take us into the reality of these people, but there is like so many things interwoven in the dialogue that took place there. There was the exposition of sort of what was happening, as well as like so many like really difficult kind of themes to explore in not making it like a full-on exposition, like this person is like this because of this, right? So for example, we found out in these couple conversations that despite despite Chinese immigrants presumably being more socially conservative, the mother is supportive of her daughter being gay and having a girlfriend, which was described in like a very smart sort of piece of dialogue, where the mother would say, in reaction to the daughter sort of blaming her for something, she would say, not a lot of mothers in our community or whatever would be okay with you dating a girl, in something like that, really written very very naturally. So immediately from the dialogue standpoint, I felt we're golden, everything is fine. And furthermore, it sort of put up like the level of communication was elevated even more, where the dialogue wasn't the only thing that communicated the characteristics of these people. For example, whilst the dialogue was going on, the mother was saying something, and there was a quick edit from sort of her upper body area to frame her legs, where she was walking around the laundromat where they worked, and she took like and she expertly took this little stool with her leg and sort of shifted it around the room. Like she shifted it to one place, then stepped on it, picked up some stuff from like a top part of a fucking dryer or whatever, and then she went down and then like kicked it again perfectly landing in the exact same place, or you know, some other place or whatever. Essentially what it showed is that they are working in that laundromat for years, for decades, perhaps, because it is in her DNA to work with this little stool. She sort of understands the work so well that it sort of became part of her natural movement, which can only happen if you're in a business for years, you know, to have that kind of automatic level of maneuvering things in your environment. And this is quite clever as well, because it was never told to us in the movie. Like, oh, hey, we have this laundromat for years, you know, this is crazy. It was sort of like hinted at as well, because there was like a flashback to when they got it and they were younger as well. But there was no exposition in that first part of the movie where they would say, you know, we're in this laundromat for so long, which is what an average movie would do. Somebody would say like, oh, we're here for oh my god, we're in this laundromat for 10 years and this still bothers me. You know, that's the kind of level of exposition dialogue that I don't quite respect, but it's sort of what almost everybody does. So the fact that to instead of making that expositional dialogue be this little stool that's just, you know, like a quick shot of about 7 seconds of Evelyn manipulating a little stool with her leg to communicate that, you know, she has this laundromat for a long time. That is what makes this a higher level of filmmaking for me. That's what I'm talking about when I shit on expositional dialogue, because that is the alternative. And I know that's the alternative. And maybe now you know that's the alternative, and we'll also shit on expositional dialogue if you see it in movies. So yeah, so much of the family dynamic is revealed right away through great performances, fantastically written dialogue, and a bunch of like other choreographed, very well choreographed stuff, for example, right? So there's this other scene where the mother goes after, where Evelyn goes after Joy, the mother goes after the daughter, as the daughter gets sort of angry with her, and the mother wants to like reassure her and sort of express her love to her, and so she stops her like, Joy, wait. And Joy waits, and she looks at her with like sort of almost tears in her eyes, not being able to get the words out. So instead she tells her that she should eat more healthy as she's getting fat, which was so well written, because this is something that I imagine, like, and that I know and that I've experienced people do. They very often can't just go out and say, I love you, and you know, you mean a lot to me, you're important to me. Instead, they would like try to express it in other ways that often, because they're afraid of or they feel awkward about these feelings, or expressing these feelings, come out in sort of the opposite way, in sort of the insulting way. So that was, again. But now, after these praises of the movie, I needed to praise the movie because the beginning was great. We move to the critique, to the criticism that I have. And not gonna lie, a little disappointed in what I'm about to tell you. Now, the movie is well written, we know this. Or I mean, I feel this. Great scenes, great visuals, filmography, perfect, right? The core of the plot, and we will, I guess, discuss this and debate this. I hope that we're going to discuss this and debate this. For me, the core of the plot is Matrix reskinned. Now, I'll tell you what I mean. Over like this whole review, right? But realistically, if I condense it, if I sort of like introduce it in this sort of short form, what I mean, the idea of like the major plot point of this entire movie being that there are alternate universes and that people can port from these universes to another universe, and then one person in that universe, being Evelyn, is sort of the chosen one who might have the power to travel through these universes and do amazing things, and is sort of again the chosen one, is Matrix. That's Matrix. Okay? Now, this is going to be my main issue with the film. That it essentially copied Matrix in its core. Now, it's not as bad as, you know, as it sounds. They did add many layers of originality and many fresh ideas, and it was also, I would say, the dialogue-wise written better. But realistically, the idea, the main idea, the core idea is not original. It's stolen, and very often, maybe not stolen, but like really adapted quite a lot. And in some instances that I will tell you, not adapted well. Adapted poorly. Its multiverse plot compared to The Matrix, there have been The Chosen One in movies for decades before The Matrix was conceived. Yes, but this is a different thing, because The Chosen One, in this sense, is somebody that has the power to travel to a different universe and be more adept at it at the same time, and defeating the monster from the other universe, essentially, right? And but like that's only one of the things. That's only one of the things. That's not the main issue. It was essentially so first of all, her being the chosen one, sure. Then the other thing, like the Wayman from a different galaxy is telling her that she needs to realize her ultimate potential, which is pretty much what Neo was told by Morpheus, right? Then what they continue to disappoint me is that when this movie tried to develop this core idea of multiverse travel, it really seriously downgraded the quality of the dialogue. I've never seen anything like this. To have such well-written and well-rounded dialogue at the beginning, to then use like average sci-fi movie tropes, like for example, you know, people like for example, there are literally people in the other universe that are controlling this, like they're controlling the stability of the network, where Wayman from the other universe sort of ports into the universe of the original Evelyn, right? And he literally has like some thingamajiggy on his head, and they are saying like, oh no, Evelyn can't do this, like this will fry her brain, or this will fry the brain of most people. And Wayman says she's not most people. Which is, again, almost verbatim taken from Matrix, from when, I mean, from multiple times when they're doubting Neo's ability in the Matrix, right? That's another thing, another issue, where it was adapted from Matrix. Now, visually, it has many more, even throughout this development of this plot that was quite rehashed. Visually, it still is very original. There is this now famous scene of the like omniverse being, which was Joy, by the way, from the Alphaverse or whatever, sort of porting to the other universe, and these are quick edits of people like snapping their heads as she's morphing into them and jumping from universe to universe, which was quite cool. But yeah, it's difficult to like fully express sort of how I felt at this moment, because there was a plentitude of really fresh ideas that were very well executed, but it was all sort of built upon a primary idea that felt really kind of rehashed, right? One of these fresh ideas, for example, was the idea of learning these different skills like sort of like acquiring skill thanks to universe hopping. So essentially, the way the movie does this is I don't know if you guys are familiar with the multiverse theory, but in short and in very simple terms, it's essentially the idea that there are infinite universes, and if there are infinite universes, then there's a universe where you have a girlfriend, or a universe where any of you guys went to the moon as the first human being, a universe where you were the best martial artist alive. All these kinds of universes exist. And this film essentially takes the idea that there are people that can shift between these universes. They can jump thanks to some kind of thingamajiggy on their head. Which also isn't explained, but okay, whatever. Now, the fresh idea here is that by doing certain actions in your universe, you will be able to momentarily behave, or not behave, but to acquire the skill of one of the other yous in the alternate universes, right? So, for example, Evelyn is just an old mother that can't really do anything, isn't really good at anything. But if she like drinks this soda really quick, or if she does something stupid like professes her love to her attacker, then that sort of shifts her mind to a different universe where she knows martial arts very, very well, right? And then she can sort of fight back, which is a cool idea, because realistically, it's sort of like, it sort of makes sense in a way when you think about it, where if you do something really out of the ordinary, it does influence your outcome. And if all those outcomes are possibilities that exist in these multiverse in this multiverse theory, then it like jumping through these minds sort of like it sort of connects you in some way. It's really difficult to explain. But for example, right, if right now I got completely naked on stream, right? What would happen would be that I don't know, I would get banned, I guess. I would feel ashamed. I would feel humiliated. That would lower my self-esteem. Therefore, I would probably get fired from my job. I would have some extra time and low self-esteem. What would I do? Maybe I would start doing martial arts, and I would have such low self-esteem that I would really feel the need to go to these martial arts training all the time, and I would get really, really good. And here I am in, I don't know, 10 years being a black belt in fucking Kung Fu or whatever, and now I'm a master of martial arts. Now, if I don't get naked on stream right now, none of that happens, and in 10 years, I don't know, I'm a writer maybe. That would be nice, right? So here are the two me's. There's the writer me that didn't get naked on stream all those years ago, and then there's the martial arts expert me that did get naked on stream all those times ago. And essentially, a really well done idea in this movie is that if you do this really unexpected and weird thing, it will hurl you to a completely different universe, essentially, and influence sort of that kind of link there, which is very, very, very smart. Now, no, it's not very smart. It's a nice idea. It's a great idea. It's very well executed. When you think about it for more than, I don't know, 10 minutes, it starts to fall apart a little bit. But it's very well executed. It's very well done. It serves the movie's purpose very, very well. My favorite one of those lines was in the TV show Last Week Tonight with John Oliver. He interviewed Stephen Hawking, and John said to Hawking, "You once stated that there." Oh yeah, I saw that. I saw that clip. I mean, I know Last Week Tonight. I watched it. You once stated that there could be an infinite universe, an infinite number of parallel universes. So theoretically, there could be a universe where I'm smarter than you. And Hawking answered, "Yes," and also a universe where you're funny. Yes, I know. I've seen that. I've seen that whole interview. But yeah, that is a good way to describe the alternate universes as well. Now, because of this, I started to warm slightly to the idea of the movie, because they did sort of take Matrix, but they did revisit it and reimagine it in such a way that it did feel somewhat original. No worries, Gautier, no worries. Yeah. Now, here is what I meant when I said that that it rehashes like the core idea of Matrix and it sometimes doesn't adapt it very well. I will give you an example of a particular scene. There's a very like cool fight scene after Evelyn downloaded some of her abilities from other universes again to help her fight blind as well as increase lung capacity and all of these things. But here's the issue. Much like in Matrix, many of these cool fight scenes feature like physically impossible things happening, like bullets being stopped in midair by just doing this, and them jumping through like down an entire building without a scratch. Now, the reason why that worked in Matrix was because in Matrix, when these fight scenes happened, this wasn't in reality, it was in a simulation. And the skill of Neo and some of his other friends was, or colleagues, was in being able to sort of manipulate, or rather, that was actually only Neo's prerogative. But what he could do was manipulate the Matrix. He was able to manipulate the simulation. So he was able to make it so that these things don't, or these things can happen, or these things don't affect him because he is capable of sort of shifting the simulation or making it impossible. But none of this is explained or shown in any way in these movies. So so there are several scenes where Evelyn stops bullets by just her body, but stopping them from entering her body essentially. And even earlier on in this film, there is a scene where she takes a riot shield from like a SWAT team or whatever, and she throws that riot shield around, and it topples all kind of people all around her, and then the riot shield comes back to her as a boomerang. Now that's not how physics works. That's not how it should work. I mean, that's just not how physics work. It is never explained in this movie or properly shown how that's possible. Because yes, okay, let's say that she is capable of downloading certain skills from other alternate universes, but she is not capable of altering the physical properties of her world. It was never shown that she's capable, or never explained that she would be capable of altering physical properties of different objects in her world. Like, she would literally have to change the laws of physics to do the feats that she has done, and that, while making sense in Matrix, does not make sense in this movie. So they copied these kinds of fight scenes from Matrix, but they didn't have the goods to back it up. They didn't have a properly built up idea of this world building, of what's possible in this world, to explain it. And that is what I mean when it adapted Matrix and adapted it poorly. That was quite unfortunate, because from like pretty much any other angle of the movie, it's fucking fantastic. So yeah, that I feel is like my main issue with this film. It has so much potential. It's so many incredible performances, and like incredible writing and all of that. But it just kind of fucks it up, because the core kind of fucks it up a little bit. It's the core of the movie is just rehashed poorly done Matrix, right? Like, there's so many layers, right? There's just like this tiny little core of shittiness, and there's so many layers of excellent stuff. But the shittiness is in the core, and that is my issue. That is something that I can't just get out of my head, which is very unfortunate, because other than that, I really enjoyed the movie. And yes, that is the other thing. You know, that is precisely like the issue, the thing that I had in my head. Like, this thing is the most celebrated movie of all time, right? It's really good. It's a really good movie, even with this shittiness. But better than Titanic, Lord of the Rings, better than Forrest Gump, better than Shawshank Redemption, Saving Private Ryan, better than Eyes Wide Shut, better than I don't know, Shutter Island, like all of these movies, really? Solaris, Stalker, I don't know. So here's what I'm gonna say, right? I don't care about Academy Awards. I genuinely don't care. This movie is good, but it's not better than all these movies that I named, in my opinion. So like, even if I'm like completely wrong with the score and everything else was great, was it still better than all these movies? It's so much better. So I don't think that taking into account, like, I don't think that like saying that this is the most celebrated movie ever should be like a end all counter argument over all criticisms. Because if that meant what it's supposed to mean, or what some people believe it to mean, then this movie is the best movie ever, objectively. Which I don't think is the case. Now we get to the rock scene. The rock scene in this movie was, like, again, one of my most favorite ones. Because Evelyn later learns to not only shift her mind and learn skills from other universes, she actually completely shifts to other universes and becomes different people at a time. So much so that she's able to go out of the known map and become a rock on the side of a cliff and has a conversation with Joy, her daughter, that is the like omniversal being that is supposedly trying to destroy all the universes or all the multiverse with a black hole. And they have this conversation that is completely silent. It was only done with subtitles, and that is something that I don't think I've ever seen. So once again, a great explosion of creativity and originality that I really, really enjoyed. It's visually stunning, it's smart, and it's very well written, even when it's only writing and not acted at all. You just read it. So what a power move by this movie. Like, from all that I said, to do something like this, to eliminate performance from a movie, to eliminate like body language or anything from a movie and make it into a book for a short while, that takes balls. And that's cool. That's cool that they did that. So I really appreciated that. Now, as the movie progressed, I sort of started forgetting about this whole thing this whole issue that I had with the core of the movie being a poorly rehashed Matrix. And here's where we sort of get, or where I sort of get in a bit of a confusion. Because the more I watched, the more I just felt completely enveloped in this movie and in the ideas and in like the philosophy of it all. Because the movie really started to make me think quite a lot. There is a scene, for example, where the auditor of the IRS arrests Evelyn at her laundromat while celebrating Chinese New Year with a bunch of people, and it looks like, you know, her laundromat is essentially lost. But her husband, Waymond, actually talks down the auditor, and the auditor releases her, and, you know, it's this incredible scene. And this was already at a time where Evelyn started listening to Joy from the Alphaverse, the omni-universe being that is trying to destroy it all, who essentially insisted that nothing matters, nothing is of any consequence. And Evelyn started believing that as she started shifting through the various universes, because she essentially saw that there is always, you know, that there's like infinite possibilities to be in, that she can be everything and anything, and therefore nothing matters, right? And that is also very well shown as she's shifting from being a celebrity, like you see in this image, to being a chef in a completely different universe, to being her, to being somebody that never went to this audit, to being somebody that stayed in China, you know, like all these kinds of universes. And she realized with all this amount of universes that nothing like this matters, that nothing matters. But then there's the scene where Waymond talks down the auditor and tell her something, and she releases Evelyn, and Evelyn just like looks at him all confused. And what Joy says, or Joy, the omniversal being, says that this is just a statistical inevitability. When all the like infinite universes, your husband would step up, I guess, at some point in some of them, and would manage to do this nearly impossible feat. So she essentially says, well, this was always going to happen in one of the universes, right? There's infinite possibilities. But Evelyn sort of looks at her husband with like almost tears in her eyes, and it's immediate. It at first started make me think, to have this philosophical idea, like what is the meaning of anything? Like what really matters? Is that what makes us human, realistically? Finding consequence in the inconsequential, meaning in what doesn't matter, the ultimate truth in a statistical anomaly. Perhaps that is what matters, the only thing that matters. And it started to make me think about this. And whilst I was in this deep thought, Evelyn stood up and walked to her husband, who was there, sort of defeated by, like a little defeated from how she screamed at him, and not really defeated actually, but this was after she screamed at him and trashed the place and everything, and after all of that, he saved her from the auditor, and she looked at him and hugged him, and there were tears in her eyes, and the husband, there was also tears in his eyes, and I'm not describing it in a way that would make justice to the scene, but even whilst I was thinking about all these like philosophical ideas in my head, this scene actually made me cry. And at that point, it just like shifted in my head. How did this movie make me cry? How is this possible that I had such like a negative reaction to the core of the plot, and then I had such a strong reaction? I rarely, like, when I say cry, I mean like there were tears streaming down my face. I don't actually cry. I haven't cried since I was a kid, but tears down my face, which happens like once a year perhaps within movies. I mean, only within movies. I don't cry for any other reason than watching a good movie. But I'm pretty sure the last time this happened was like a year ago. With Lady the Porter of Fire. So it's extremely rare for a movie to create a powerful emotion within me. And it never happened to me that a movie that I had such an issue with from like a philosophical standpoint, or from like the writing analysis standpoint, that sort of had that of a powerful reaction in me. It genuinely is, because I really rarely do this. But I started thinking why that was. And realistically, I came to the conclusion that from all the eventualities and all the universes, finding true happiness and meaning in perhaps the most humble one, finally realizing that was the Evelyn that didn't achieve anything, that didn't become a novelist, didn't become a celebrity, didn't become a chef. It was like the meaning of the happiness was when she hugged her husband in a broken down laundromat that's failing under the audit of IRS, and the husband that was clearing her mess, figuratively with the auditor, and also literally, because he was literally scrubbing the glass that she broke as she was trashing the place. Very powerful indeed. I was getting to that, but I will we might as well get to it right now. When I say when I said that I'm not sure whether it deserved an Academy Award and stuff, please know that I'm talking purely about Best Picture and Screenplay. From performance standpoint, it was exceptional. Michelle Yeoh and Kay, what is his name exactly? Let me see. I don't know how to pronounce Yeoh, by the way. Michelle Yeoh. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Ke Huy Quan, and all the other actors, exceptional performances, and they definitely deserved Academy Award for that. It was amazing. It was amazing. So that's what I mean when I'm like, oh, was it deserved, blah blah blah. The actors deserved it for sure. The filmographer deserved it for sure. Film editing for sure. It was exceptional. There were so many fast edits of Michelle's face in the center of the screen, whilst being like all kinds of different person in all kinds of different universes. There was like a rapid edit of her just staring into the camera whilst being a chef, whilst being a celebrity, whilst being a woman in a laundromat, whilst being a singer. All these kinds of eventualities in all these universes, in these rapid fire edits that happen right in front of or right after this very powerful emotional scene. Exceptionally done. Exceptionally done. So yeah, there were some good, powerful themes that were brought about at the conclusion as well, about love and about finding meaning in love, which is really difficult to do without it making it corny and cringy. And they didn't. They didn't say any of that. Like, oh, love is the most important, or some shit like this. The only sort of speech that was there was by Waymond from the Alphaverse or whatever, that said that like he said, like, please, let's stop fighting. I realized the most important thing. I mean, I'm confused. You're confused. Let's be kind to each other when we're all confused. And it's said and delivered and executed and written in such a way that, despite this being prime dangerous territory for being cringy and corny and shallow, it wasn't at all. It was a very important, very powerful statement. If we're all confused, we must be kind to each other. But yeah, let us move to the conclusion. Now, the conclusion will be slightly split. And you will soon understand why. So first and foremost, from a purely analytical standpoint, from my personal analytical standpoint, it felt like there was many layers of very interesting, fresh, and original themes and ideas that were unfortunately built on other people's ideas and weren't as well explained and built up. The world building lacked in this movie, and sometimes didn't make sense, and therefore wasn't constructed properly. There was great dialogue at the beginning that sort of set the theme. It was exploring characteristics and family dynamics in a way that's comparable to Aaron Sorkin, who is actually, I think he's still alive, one of, if not the best television writers of all time. So high praise there. But it sort of devolved into like very average ones, like throughout the middle part, where the whole sci-fi shit started happening. Like, oh, like this would fry most people. This would fry most people's brain. She's not most people. You know, I told her she's not most people. Shit like this. Like, what? How are you doing this shallow, like everyday sci-fi dialogue in this movie? Like that shocked me. That's like something like that was there. I've never seen dialogue that was so well written to go so downhill in the middle part of the movie. That was shocking to me. But for me, it was like tales of first half, because sometimes I started writing conclusions during the movies because I somewhat start feeling something. So after the first half, I wrote this conclusion. The movie did not, I think, deserve an Oscar for Best Picture, but is still seen as the most sought after award. But I wrote another one at the end of the movie, or like during the second half. Despite its shaky core, the movie provided true depth and expressed powerful emotion in me, the viewer. And any amount of writing analysis can't change that. So, in the end, if I don't agree with if I feel something like that doesn't, if I feel like something doesn't work, doesn't make sense, but it still made me cry and still made me think about my life, does it really matter at that point? You know? It's another philosophical idea that I had thanks to this movie, because this never happened to me, ever. It never ever happened to me that I cried at art that I wouldn't consider perfect, or I wouldn't consider like sort of without flaw, or without a major flaw rather. Because I still see what I said before as a major flaw of the film, yet it still made me feel a very powerful emotion. Sorkin is still alive, but he admitted a couple of days ago that in November he suffered a stroke. Oh shit, I didn't know that. Thank you for informing me though, Cotier. I appreciate that. The movie did, as I said, make me think about our reality in a philosophical sense. It did manage to instill a deeper thought in me, as well as emotion. But yeah. In conclusion, Everything Everywhere All at Once received near universal acclaim from film critics, and it's widely considered to be the magnum opus of Michelle Yeoh's filmography. And I couldn't agree more. From a performance standpoint of all the actors, cinematography, and everything was exceptional. There is just this core of the movie that I find to be surprisingly poorly done, and I would even like say that parts of it were just a mistake. That it was like mistakenly done. There were mistakes were made in this movie. Like quite major flaws were done in this movie that I felt like were important to express. But I'm still sort of in this limbo of an idea of whether this actually matters, if it made me cry and made me feel something powerful and made me think about my life. Because at the end of the day, that is the purpose of true art. And they achieved this. So what? You know? So what if the middle part is a bit mushy and a bit shit? It achieved the highest purpose it can possibly achieve. So, you know, it's difficult to argue. It's difficult to argue that what I said in the middle there matters. And I knew before I done this review that I might say that, you know what, fuck it. Like, the stuff that I said, it doesn't matter. But I don't know if it matters. I just have, you know, despite not having the largest viewer count or anything, I still feel like it is my duty to be as truthful to you about this review as I possibly can be, and as thorough as I possibly can be. And that is part of the thoroughness. From analysis standpoint, from the cold analysis standpoint, it is a movie with good potential that kind of fucked up in a major way in its like rehashing of a movie that is pretty good, but not rehashing it correctly. But from a larger artistic standpoint, it delivered powerful messages and a powerful emotion in a way that didn't make me cringe or didn't make me reject that in any way, shape, or form. So, you know, what can I say? If a painter that you know, some art critics would describe paints like an amateur that doesn't properly know the scales or the dynamics, or is completely off scale or whatever. I don't understand fucking painting. And if they say all that about a painter, but I still look at his painting and see something deep within it, and it makes me look deep inside of me and makes me think about life and makes me feel a certain way. Like, what do I care what these art critics say, you know, about scale and shit? I don't give a fuck. It made me feel something. So at the end of the day, that's where I leave you. I don't know. I'm tempted. The artist in me tempted, like, is like tempted to say that it doesn't matter if it has flaws, because it delivered its final purpose. That is the disconnect, I think, between artists and critics. But there you go. That is the review of Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Let us discuss, alright? Let us discuss. Right, I think you are hyperfixating on the one negative thing that you saw in this movie, and in that sense, that is how life is usually viewed, to be honest. Yeah. I agree with you. The second point, the first point, Gautier, the issue there with the hyperfixation is if it was only one thing, like a major, like a one minor thing, like a layer of some kind, a theme, a motif of the movie, then sure, whatever. I shouldn't be focusing on it. I would just mention it in like one sentence and shut up about it for the rest of the review. The issue is that the flaw that I'm focusing on is what this movie is built upon. It's the major, it's the cornerstone of the movie. The cornerstone of the plot is the multiverse travel and the realities of how they're capable of travel the multiverse. Essentially, the world building, the creation of the world. That is sort of the skeleton essentially of this beast of the movie of a movie.